She came home late one night drunk and whispering things that didn't make sense, and when I opened her phone the next morning I found a truth I can never unsee or forgive. I grew up in a quiet suburb outside Portland, Oregon, the kind of place where nothing dramatic ever really happens. I never imagined that my life would turn into the kind of story people whisper about behind closed doors. But it did. And it started with a hangover. Not mine, hers. She came home late, stumbling through the door at 2:41 a.m. I remember the exact time because I was still awake, scrolling through nonsense on my phone, pretending not to care. But I cared. Her makeup was smudged, hair twisted in a way it never usually was, heels in her hand. She mumbled something about drinks, said her phone had died, then collapsed face first onto the bed like the night had never happened. I should have let it go. But I didn't. At 6:13 a.m., I got up and saw her phone charging on the nightstand. Notifications were still popping up, group chats, Instagram tags, a missed call from someone named Matt. That emoji stung more than it should have. I didn't mean to snoop, but something in me cracked. I opened her messages. It didn't take long to find it. Just a few lines. Drunken confessions. Laughter. Someone saying, "I can't believe we actually did that last night." She replied, "Neither can I. Don't tell anyone, okay?" That was the moment my stomach dropped. I didn't know what she had done exactly, but I knew enough to understand what I'd just lost. I didn't sleep after that. I just lay there, next to her, feeling the weight of a truth that hadn't been spoken, but screamed inside my head. She looked so peaceful, curled up under the blanket like nothing had happened, like she hadn't just detonated our relationship with a few taps of her thumbs. My chest felt tight. Not like heartbreak, more like a drowning. The kind where your body hasn't accepted it yet, but your lungs already know there's no air left. I didn't know what to do. Confront her? Wait. Pretend I didn't see it? None of the options made sense. I just kept thinking, what exactly did she do? Was it a kiss? Was it more? Was it everything? And worse, was it someone I knew? I read the messages over and over, as if they might rearrange themselves into something innocent. But they didn't. The same words hit me again and again like a low punch to the stomach. I got up, walked around the apartment. Everything felt wrong, the photos on the wall, the sweatshirt of mine she always wore, the toothbrushes side by side. It was like I had died in the middle of my own life. And now I was haunting it. I told myself it might not be what I think. People say dumb things when they're drunk, right? Maybe it was a joke. Maybe Matt Cocktail Glass was someone she barely knew. Maybe it didn't mean anything. I held on to that word. Maybe, like it could rewind time. Like it could soften the blow of whatever had already happened. Around noon, she woke up. Hair a mess. Smudged eyeliner under her eyes. She stretched, yawned, and reached for her phone without even looking at me. Just unlocked the screen, started scrolling, lips pressed into a lazy smile. I watched her face carefully. No panic. No guilt. No hint that her world had shifted, only mine. She got up, made coffee, and asked if I wanted anything. I said no. My voice sounded far away, like it came from a version of me that wasn't fully there anymore. I wanted to scream. Ask her what happened. Demand the truth. Show her the message. But I didn't. Because the second I asked, everything would change. Whatever we had, even the illusion of it, would be gone. And in that moment, I realized something horrible. A part of me would rather not know than know for sure she gave her body to someone else. That night, after she fell asleep, I opened her phone again. I told myself I was looking for clarity, a timeline, a name, anything. But deep down, I already knew what I was doing. I was hunting for pain. Her text thread with Matt had been mostly deleted, but she missed a few messages buried under group chats. Some of them were innocent. Others, not so much. There was a screenshot from earlier that week. A selfie of the two of them at a crowded bar, drinks in hand. Her arm was around his shoulder. His hand was on her waist. Another text from her. "You were bad for me tonight." His reply. "You didn't complain." I felt sick. There was also a photo from someone else, a blurry shot in a club bathroom mirror. 3 girls posing. And just barely in the background, reflected in the mirror behind them, was her. Pressed up against a guy. His face wasn't clear. But her body language was. Arms around his neck. Her lips dangerously close to his. I stared at that image for a long time, hoping it would dissolve. Hoping it was some trick of the angle, the lighting, anything. But you can't unsee something like that. It doesn't matter if you don't know exactly what happened. You still know enough to ruin you. The next morning, she kissed me on the cheek like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't let another man touch her. Like she wasn't still texting him 2 days later. I flinched. It was subtle. Barely noticeable. But it happened. My body pulled away before my brain could stop it. She didn't seem to notice. She was too busy asking if I wanted to grab breakfast at that place near the park, the one where we had our first real date. The one with the wobbly outdoor tables and burnt coffee I pretended to love because she did. I said I wasn't hungry. She laughed, said, "You're always hungry." I wasn't. Not anymore. Every time she touched me, I imagined his hands instead. Every time she smiled, I heard her drunken giggle from that message, the one she sent when she thought I'd never see it. It was like watching someone wear your partner's skin, but none of the soul inside felt familiar anymore. I still hadn't said anything. Not because I was trying to protect her, but because I didn't recognize myself either. Who was I now? A man too scared to leave. Too broken to stay. I started noticing things I'd never seen before. The way she'd smile at her phone, then flip the screen down when I walked by. How she suddenly started wearing perfume on random evenings, even if she said she was just grabbing dinner with the girls. The way her mood would swing wildly, glowing one night, cold the next. I stopped pretending I didn't care. But I still didn't say a word. Instead, I watched. Watched how she avoided my eyes when I asked about her weekend. Watched how she left the room to take certain calls. Watched her reflection in the hallway mirror as she fixed her hair, then hesitated, like she was dressing for someone else. It became a sick routine. And I hated myself for playing along with it. For acting like things were fine, like I was still hers, like she deserved my silence. But the truth is, I was building a case. Not for her. Not even for him. For myself. I needed to see enough to justify walking away. Because part of me, the weak, cowardly part, still hoped I was wrong. I finally broke. Not in front of her, but alone, at 2 a.m., sitting in the dark with her phone in my hands again. She was asleep beside me, breathing slow, mouth slightly open like a child. She'd forgotten to log out of her email. It wasn't even curiosity at that point. It was compulsion. I went through her inbox like a stranger picking through wreckage after a crash, searching for black boxes, for answers, for anything that proved this wasn't all in my head. I found what I was looking for in a calendar invite. I clicked the thread. My heart was hammering. There it was. A string of emails between her and Matt. Not just flirty. Not just careless. Explicit. Descriptions of what happened in the guest room, jokes about round 2, mentions of positions, liquor brands, and an Uber driver she almost threw up on after. That was it. No more doubt. No more, maybe. No more room for interpretation. I closed the laptop. Sat in the dark. And listened to the sound of her breathing. Peaceful, easy. And for the first time, I didn't feel pain. I felt nothing. The next morning, she made pancakes. From scratch. She never made pancakes. She stood in the kitchen, barefoot in one of my old t-shirts, flipping them like we were some Pinterest couple. Smiling like nothing was fractured. Humming to a song she didn't even know the lyrics to. I sat at the counter, watching her. She didn't know I'd read the emails. Didn't know I'd seen every dirty little sentence. She thought she was still safe inside the lie we'd both been living. And for whatever reason, I let her believe that. I took the plate she gave me. Ate the pancakes. Said thanks. Pretended I was distracted by work. She leaned over and kissed my cheek, and I didn't move. Just stared at the syrup dripping down the side of the plate, thick and slow, like blood. Part of me wanted to scream. To drag her to the laptop and make her read every word out loud. But another part, the colder part, was curious. How long would she keep lying? And how long could I keep pretending not to know? It's funny how easy it is to lie when the truth hurts more than the performance. She asked if I was okay. I said I was just tired. She asked if something was bothering me. I shook my head. She leaned her head on my shoulder and whispered, "You feel far away lately." I kissed the top of her head and said, "I'm right here." And every time I did it, a little more of me disappeared. I started sleeping later, coming home later. I took long drives at night just to be away from her, from the bed, the apartment, her voice. I couldn't stand the sound of it anymore. Too soft. Too rehearsed. I told her I had work dinners. I didn't. I just sat in my car at gas stations and empty parking lots, scrolling through messages I had already read, over and over, trying to find the exact moment she stopped being mine. The worst part? There wasn't one. No red flag. No fight. No goodbye. Just a slow fade into someone I wouldn't recognize if I met her today. And now we were both lying. But only one of us knew why. I had the words lined up. It was a Sunday afternoon. Cloudy. The kind of quiet day where the whole world feels like it's holding its breath. She was curled up on the couch, legs tucked under a blanket, scrolling through her phone with that little half-smile she always did when she thought nobody was watching. I stood in the doorway for a full minute. Heart pounding. Jaw clenched. Ready to say it. I know. Just that. 2 words. Simple. Final. But before I opened my mouth, she looked up at me and said, "Matt texted me again last night. He's being so annoying lately." She laughed. Rolled her eyes. Said she'd blocked him. Like he was some clingy guy she barely knew. Like she hadn't slept with him. I felt the floor tilt beneath me. My fingers curled into fists behind my back. She wasn't just lying. She was rewriting history in real time, reshaping it into a version where she was the victim of his attention, not the one who invited it. Not the one who stripped down for him in someone's guest room and laughed about it the next day. And that's when I realized. She wasn't going to admit it. Not now. Not ever. Even if I showed her the messages, the photos, the calendar invite, she'd find a way to twist it. Call me crazy. Say I was insecure. Say I misunderstood. So instead of confronting her, I nodded. And I went into the kitchen. And I started making coffee with hands that were shaking. She fell asleep on the couch that night, halfway through some movie neither of us were watching. I stared at the screen long after it ended, watching the black mirror reflect a man I didn't recognize anymore. I wasn't trapped. I wasn't chained to her. I wasn't legally bound, financially stuck, or physically held. I was choosing to stay. And that broke me in a whole new way. Why hadn't I left yet? I had proof. I had clarity. I even had a duffel bag half-packed in the closet from 2 weeks ago, when I thought maybe I'd finally walk out. But I didn't. I kept finding reasons to delay, to avoid, to freeze. I told myself I needed the right moment. But the truth? I was addicted to the pain. I kept poking the bruise to see if it still hurt. Reading the messages again. Replaying her laugh in my head. Imagining what she looked like when she was with him. It made me sick. But I couldn't stop. Because even pain was something. And I hadn't felt something in a long time. Leaving felt like surrender. I wasn't ready for that. I didn't want closure, or healing, or peace. Not yet. I wanted to see the truth on her face. I wanted her to squirm, to sweat, to stumble through lies and watch them collapse under their own weight. So I changed tactics. I started asking subtle questions. About that night. About the party. About who was there. Just enough to make her uncomfortable, but not enough to raise suspicion. She flinched when I mentioned Matt. Said she hardly knew him. Said he was just a friend of a friend. She wouldn't even make eye contact. I nodded. Said, cool. Inside, I felt something dark bloom. A cold satisfaction. I started noticing her habits, when she charged her phone, when she showered, when she left it unattended. I memorized her passcode. I synced her cloud to my laptop. Every photo, every message, every little deleted voice memo, all of it came to me eventually. And I didn't tell her. Because I didn't want a confession. I wanted a collapse. It showed up like a ghost, buried deep in her iCloud backups, inside a random downloads folder. Not named. Not labeled. Just a string of numbers and a.mov at the end. I clicked it. I wish I hadn't. The clip was only 12 seconds long. Shaky, dark, probably taken by accident. But it was enough. A guy's voice. Drunk. Laughing. Her voice too, unmistakably hers, whispering, "Shoo, someone's in the hallway." Then a hand sliding over skin. A low moan. And her face turning toward the camera by mistake, just for a second. But a second was enough. Her eyes were glassy. Her lipstick smudged. Hair pulled back in the exact same way she'd come home that night, pretending she was too tired to talk, too drunk to remember. But she remembered enough to keep this. And that's what shattered me the most. She didn't just cheat. She kept a souvenir. Like it meant something. Like he meant something. And I realized then, she wasn't sorry. She never had been. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I watched her, really watched her, through new eyes. Not as the woman I loved. Not as the girl I thought I'd marry. But as a stranger occupying her body. An imposter wearing my trust like a costume. She laughed with me at dinner. She asked me how my day was. She reached for my hand across the couch like nothing had changed. And I gave her nothing. Not anger. Not sadness. Just silence, wrapped in smiles. Because I had already left her. Not physically, not yet. But emotionally, mentally, spiritually, I was gone. I started writing everything down. Dates. Screenshots. Times she said she was working late. Places she said she was going, and who she said she was with. I cross-referenced them with messages I found in her phone and iCloud. I wasn't just preparing to leave. I was preparing evidence. Not for court, but for clarity. For me. So that one day, when she tries to spin the truth, when she says, "It wasn't like that," or "You don't understand," I can pull it all up and remind myself. I saw everything. And she can never lie her way out of that. It was a Tuesday. Cold, gray, the kind of day that makes silence feel heavier. She was getting ready for work, standing in the bathroom mirror, applying mascara like it was any other morning. I opened my laptop in the kitchen. I waited until she walked past me to grab her purse, then turned the screen toward her. 12 seconds. The video. I didn't say a thing. Just hit play. She froze. I watched her face morph, confusion, then recognition, then horror. Her hand flew to her mouth, mascara wand still between her fingers, trembling. Still, I said nothing. The video ended. Silence. She tried to speak. I raised a hand. Not angrily. Just enough to stop the noise before it started. Then I slid the laptop toward her. I had left a folder open. Everything. Screenshots. Emails. Photos. Messages. Dates. Times. It was all there. Neat. Organized. Unforgiving. She stared at the screen like it was a crime scene. Because it was. She whispered my name. And I stood up. Walked past her. Grabbed my coat. And as I reached the door, I finally spoke. "You don't get to explain." Then I left. No yelling. No closure. Just the truth, finally unspoken between us, but loud enough to crush everything we ever were. I didn't go to a friend's place. Didn't book a hotel. I just drove. 4 hours. No music. No calls. Just the hum of tires and a mind unraveling in real time. Every stoplight felt like a test. Do I turn back? Do I go somewhere familiar? Do I just vanish? I ended up in a coastal town 3 hours away, the kind you only see on postcards or calendars. Found a cheap motel that smelled like bleach and old fabric softener. Gave the front desk a fake last name. Paid in cash. Sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the wall for a long time. And for the first time in weeks. No lies. No fake smiles. No pretending. Just me. And the wreckage. And strangely, that felt better than love ever had. The next morning, my phone had 17 missed calls. 9 texts. 3 voicemails. All from her. I didn't listen to a single one. Because once someone breaks something inside you that deep, their voice becomes a weapon. And I wasn't ready to hear it again. By the second day, the messages changed. At first, they were desperate. "Please call me. Please. It's not what you think. Let me explain." Then came the guilt. "I didn't mean to hurt you. It was a mistake. You mean more to me than he ever could." And then, silence. For a few hours. Until the long text arrived. One of those walls of text people write when they're not sorry they cheated, they're sorry they got caught. She blamed the alcohol. Said she was confused about us. Said Matt took advantage of her vulnerability. Said she never planned for it to happen. That it only happened once, which I knew was a lie. And that she was more ashamed than I could ever know. But here's the thing about shame. If you can type it out so neatly, so quickly, so manipulatively, you're not really drowning in it. You're managing it. Her apology wasn't for me. It was for her own reflection, so she could look herself in the mirror and say, "At least I tried." But she didn't try when it mattered. She tried after the damage was done. And by then, it was way too late. A week later, I returned to the apartment. She wasn't there. I'd waited for that, watched her Instagram story, saw she was out with a friend, smiling in some cafe like her world hadn't burned down 7 days ago. Good. I needed time. I stepped into the place we'd once called ours, and for a moment, it felt like walking into a museum. Every item had meaning, history, but no life anymore. Just dead objects in a space where love used to breathe. The photo of us in Chicago still hung above the couch. I took it down first. Then the Polaroids on the fridge. The souvenir shot glass she brought from New Orleans. The plant I bought her that she never remembered to water. Gone. I didn't rage. I didn't destroy. I was calm. Surgical. I packed only what was mine. Clothes. Books. My guitar. Old journals she never read. I left the keys on the coffee table with a single envelope next to them. No note. No words. Just the memory card with every file I'd found. Let her see what I saw. Let her feel the weight of her own history. And when I closed the door behind me, I didn't look back. Because there was nothing left worth seeing. You think walking away will feel like victory. It doesn't. It feels like tearing muscle from bone. There were nights I almost called her. Not to forgive, just to hear. To remind myself that she was real. That I hadn't made her up in my head. That the love we had, whatever it was, had actually existed. But every time I picked up my phone, I saw that last video in my mind. Her voice. Her body. That whisper, "Shoo, someone's in the hallway." And I put the phone down again. I moved into a smaller place. Just one bedroom, no photos on the wall. Quiet. Empty in a peaceful kind of way. Like a wound that finally stopped bleeding. But healing isn't cinematic. It's slow. Ugly. Uneven. Some mornings, I wake up thinking she's next to me. I still roll over expecting her hair on my pillow. I still have dreams where she's laughing in the kitchen, wearing my hoodie, like nothing ever happened. Then I remember. And I breathe through it. Because I'd rather live in the quiet of my own space than sleep next to a lie wrapped in perfume. People think betrayal ends with rage. With screaming. With shattered plates. With one final message that leaves the other person broken and begging. But that's not how it really ends. Not for me. It ended in silence. It ended the moment I realized. I don't hate her. I wish I did. Hatred is clean. Simple. It gives you something to burn. But I'm not angry anymore. I'm just tired. Tired of pretending she was someone she wasn't. Tired of holding a version of love that only existed in my head. I don't miss her. I miss who I thought she was. And maybe that's the most painful part of all. You mourn the person you created, not the one who destroyed you. No. Now I live slower. I don't check my phone obsessively. I don't rehearse arguments in the shower. I don't sleep with a weight on my chest. And someday, when someone new walks into my life, someone honest, I'll know what to look for. And more importantly, what to run from. Because love doesn't require perfect people. It just requires the truth. And I finally have mine.